Have you ever wondered why even after eating healthy, taking your vitamins, and doing all the right things, your erections still aren't what they used to be? Why desire fades, sensation dulls, and the fire you once had quietly slips away? Here's the truth no one tells you. The solution might not be in a pill. It might be in your kitchen. Because two simple ingredients, ginger and garlic, hold a shocking, overlooked power to restore blood flow, revive your nerve response, and naturally awaken the part of you that's been falling silent. I'm Dr. Laura, a men's health specialist with over 30 years of clinical experience in urology, hormone therapy, and sexual performance. I've helped thousands of men over 60 reclaim their energy, confidence, and intimacy without relying on medications or empty promises. And in all my years, one thing has become crystal clear. The body can heal itself when you give it the right support. Most men never realize just how deeply ginger and garlic impact male vitality. They don't just spice up your food, they target your circulation, hormones, nerves, and even your sleep. They affect everything from blood pressure to libido, from prostate health to morning erections. But almost no one over 60 is using them the right way. In this video, I'll walk you through 10 powerful science-backed ways these humble ingredients can help restore stronger, fuller, more natural erections without side effects, stress, or shame. And make sure you stay with me to the end because the final benefit may be the key to feeling like yourself again, not just physically, but as a man. Let's begin. Before we get started, if you're new here, I invite you to subscribe and tap the notification bell so you never miss another natural health solution designed specifically for men over 60. And if this message speaks to you, type 1 in the comments. If it doesn't quite hit the mark, type 0. Your feedback helps me create content that truly serves you. All right, let's begin with the very first benefit because without this, nothing else works. If you're a man over 60, the number one reason your erections have weakened over time isn't age, it's poor blood flow. And this is exactly where ginger and garlic begin to work their magic. 10. They help restore blood flow down there, naturally and safely. When men walk into my office, they rarely say, "Doc, I think I have poor blood flow." What they say instead is, "I don't feel as firm anymore," or "Things just aren't working like they used to." That's how it usually begins, not with panic, but with quiet frustration. Most men don't realize that after 60, the number one reason erections start to weaken isn't because you've lost desire. It's because your circulation has slowed down. And without healthy blood flow, your body simply can't respond, no matter how much you want it to. I remember a man named George, 67 years old, retired Navy, tough as nails. He looked me straight in the eye and said, "Doc, I still have the drive, but the response just isn't there. I want to feel like a man again." That struck me, and it's exactly where ginger and garlic come in. These two natural ingredients contain compounds that act as vasodilators, meaning they help relax and open up your blood vessels, especially the ones leading to your lower region. Garlic, through a compound called allicin, has been shown to improve arterial flexibility and enhance blood flow. Ginger complements it by reducing blood pressure and helping the smallest capillaries deliver oxygen where it matters most. Together, they don't just support your heart, they help send rich, oxygenated blood exactly where your body needs it for a strong, natural erection. This isn't a quick fix or a stimulant. It's a steady, nourishing approach that improves function at the root level. George began drinking warm ginger and garlic tea every morning, 2 or 3 cloves of garlic, a few slices of ginger, steeped for 15 minutes, nothing fancy. After about a month, he came back with a different posture, his shoulders up, voice lighter. "Doc," he said, "I'm waking up with something I haven't felt in years." That's the power of restoring blood flow. When circulation returns, so does confidence, connection, and even joy. And yet, even if your blood vessels are open and flowing, there's another piece that must fall into place because without it, your body won't get the signal to respond no matter how healthy your circulation is. In fact, it's one of the most important chemical messengers in your entire body. Let me show you what it is. 9. They boost nitric oxide, the spark that triggers erections years ago. I had a patient named Tom. He was 72, a retired electrician who had spent decades wiring homes and fixing broken systems. But the system he came to me about wasn't one he could repair with tools. He said, "Doc, I keep hearing about nitric oxide. I know it matters, but do I still make it?" That question stayed with me because most men over 60 have no idea how critical nitric oxide is, not just for performance, but for life. Nitric oxide is the silent spark that triggers an erection. It tells your blood vessels when to open and allows blood to rush in and stay where it needs to. Without enough nitric oxide, even if your arteries are clean and your heart is strong, nothing happens. You can have the desire, even the intimacy, but your body just doesn't respond. And by the time you reach your 60s, nitric oxide production can drop by more than half. That's why so many men say they feel disconnected during arousal. It's not in their head, it's in their chemistry. This is where ginger and garlic shine. Both are packed with natural antioxidants that protect your cells and reduce oxidative stress, the very thing that interferes with nitric oxide production. Garlic, especially raw or lightly cooked, helps improve nitric oxide bioavailability by reducing inflammation in your blood vessels. Ginger works in harmony by enhancing the function of the endothelial lining, helping your body produce and release nitric oxide more efficiently. Tom began drinking ginger and garlic tea every evening, and we added a bit of raw garlic to his salads. It wasn't dramatic at first, but after about 3 weeks, he came into my office and said, "Doc, I don't know what's happening, but I'm waking up different. I feel something coming back." That something was his body remembering how to respond. The signal was finally being heard again. And that's what nitric oxide does. It doesn't just improve circulation, it restores communication between your brain, your heart, and your manhood. It turns the switch back on. But even with nitric oxide flowing and blood vessels open, there's another silent factor that can hold you back. It's not something you see, it's something you feel, especially when your energy, your motivation, and your identity as a man start to fade. Let's talk about that next. 8. They naturally support testosterone production. One of the most common things I hear from men in their 60s and 70s isn't just about performance. It's about how they feel as a man. They'll say things like, "I don't have the same drive I used to," or "I feel flat," like something's missing. And most of the time, what they're describing is a quiet, steady drop in testosterone. It doesn't hit all at once. It sneaks in. First, it's a little less energy, then a little less motivation. Then suddenly the spark you had in your body, in your mind, in your relationship feels like it's gone. I remember a man named Richard, 65, a retired school principal. He was calm, thoughtful, well-spoken, but behind his eyes, I could see it. He felt off. He told me, "I'm not depressed, but I'm not myself." That statement said everything. We ran some blood work, and sure enough, his testosterone was low, not dangerously low, but enough to shift everything inside him. And like many men, he didn't want injections or patches. He wanted to support his body the natural way. So we turned to food, specifically ginger and garlic. Most people don't realize that ginger has been shown in multiple studies to raise testosterone levels by protecting the Leydig cells in the testes, the very cells responsible for testosterone production. Ginger also helps lower oxidative stress, which is one of the biggest threats to hormone health as you age. Garlic, on the other hand, supports testosterone indirectly by lowering cortisol, your stress hormone. When cortisol stays high for too long, it suppresses testosterone like a weight pressing down on your system. We added raw garlic and fresh ginger to Richard's evening meals and included a warm tea before bed. After about a month, something shifted. He started showing up to appointments earlier, more energized. He stood straighter. He laughed more. And during one visit, he looked at me and said, "Dr. Laura, I feel like me again." And honestly, that's what this is all about. It's not about chasing youth. It's about reclaiming your presence, your purpose, and that quiet inner strength that makes you feel grounded in your own skin. But even with hormones rising and drive returning, there's a hidden problem that can quietly block progress. One that starts deep inside with something nearly every man over 60 deals with, yet rarely talks about. And if you've been waking up at night or feeling discomfort in ways you can't explain, you'll want to hear what comes next. 7. They improve prostate health, reducing pressure, swelling, and nighttime urination. It's something many men quietly live with, but rarely bring up until it starts stealing their sleep. The prostate. As we age, that small walnut-sized gland starts to grow, and along with it comes frequent bathroom trips, weak flow, and the constant urge to go even when nothing happens. I can't tell you how many times I've had a patient say, "Dr. Laura, I'm up for 5 times a night. I can't rest. I can't think. I'm tired all the time." And most of them think it's just something they have to live with. One man, Gerald, 66-year-old retired firefighter, came in with heavy eyes and a worn-out spirit. He said, "I'm used to being tough, but this wears me down." He wasn't talking about pain. He was talking about frustration. His prostate wasn't cancerous. It was just enlarged and inflamed, something incredibly common, but no less exhausting. He had tried medication, but the side effects made him feel foggy and flat. So we looked at food. We looked at nature. Both ginger and garlic have incredible anti-inflammatory properties, especially in the lower pelvis. Garlic is rich in sulfur, compounds that help reduce swelling and protect delicate tissues like the prostate from oxidative damage. Ginger, meanwhile, contains gingerols and shogaols that work as natural inflammation fighters, helping to ease pressure, promote urine flow, and reduce nighttime interruptions. We introduced them into Gerald's dinner-crushed garlic in warm soups. Fresh ginger grated into his evening tea. Nothing radical, just consistency. About a month later, he came in with a smile I hadn't seen before. "Dr. Laura," he said, "I slept through the night twice this week, first time in years." And you could see it in the way he carried himself. Lighter, calmer, more at ease. When the prostate calms down, everything starts to work better. Your sleep improves, your energy returns, and that constant tension in your lower body begins to lift. But even as the pressure eases and the sleep returns, there's still something deeper that can hold men back. Something silent, something hidden. It's not in your hormones or your bladder. It's something that affects sensation itself. And if you've ever felt numb, less responsive, or emotionally disconnected during intimacy, the next insight could explain why. 6. They reduce inflammation in the penis and pelvic region. A few years ago, I sat across from a man named Alan. He was 68, a retired carpenter, strong hands, quiet demeanor. But as he sat in the exam room, his eyes told a different story, one of discomfort and frustration. "Dr. Laura," he said, "I'm not in pain exactly, but something feels off down there, swollen, dull, like there's pressure I can't get rid of." His regular checkups were fine. His labs looked normal. But what he was describing wasn't something you see on a chart. It was inflammation, subtle, internal, but very real. For many men over 60, chronic low-grade inflammation becomes a silent disruptor. It builds up in the tissues of the penis, the prostate, and the pelvic floor. You may not notice it right away, but over time, it starts to chip away at your sensation, your performance, and your confidence. You may feel numb, disconnected, or tense without knowing why. It's not psychological, it's biological, and it's more common than you think. That's where ginger and garlic become powerful allies. Garlic contains eugenol and allicin, compounds that reduce inflammatory enzymes and calm irritated tissues. Ginger, with its natural gingerols and antioxidants, works like a fire extinguisher for internal inflammation. Together, they don't mask the discomfort. They help resolve it from the inside out. For Alan, I recommended a warm tea made with fresh ginger, slices, and a crushed garlic clove steeped for 15 to 20 minutes. He drank it daily along with some dietary shifts to cut down inflammatory foods. A few weeks later, he returned. He didn't say much at first. He just leaned back, looked more relaxed. I didn't realize how tight I'd been feeling. He finally said, "Now that it's easing, I feel clearer, more in control again." That's what happens when inflammation goes down. It's not just relief from pressure. It's the return of balance, comfort, and confidence. But here's the thing. Even if the inflammation calms, there's another issue that often gets ignored. One, that affects your ability to truly feel pleasure, because without it, touch becomes dull and intimacy becomes something you go through, not something you experience. And that's what we'll uncover next. 5. They improve nerve sensitivity and pleasure response. Not long ago, I sat down with a man named Harold. He was 71, married for over 40 years, and deeply devoted to his wife. But when we began talking about intimacy, he said something that stopped me. "Dr. Laura," he began quietly, "I can still perform, sometimes, but I don't feel much. It's like I'm there physically, but not really there." And I knew exactly what he meant because for many men over 60, the struggle isn't just about function. It's about connection. It's about sensation. As we age, the tiny nerves responsible for carrying pleasure signals from the pelvic area to the brain can begin to dull. It doesn't happen overnight. It's gradual. Less sensitivity during intimacy, a lack of warmth, a feeling of emotional distance. You might still respond, but it's muted, and it's frustrating because no one ever talks about this part. What Harold was experiencing wasn't uncommon. It was the result of years of reduced blood flow, subtle inflammation, and aging nerve tissue. But the good news is this: with the right support, those nerves can begin to wake up again. Ginger and garlic are surprisingly effective here. Ginger promotes better circulation to nerve endings, especially in areas where oxygen delivery is critical. Garlic helps reduce oxidative stress that damages nerve tissue over time. Together, they nourish the very pathways that bring sensation back to life. I had Harold continue with his morning ginger and garlic tea, but I also recommended something topical. A simple homemade oil blend, just a few drops of clove or garlic oil diluted in coconut oil. Gently massage around the lower abdomen and inner thighs, not as a treatment, but as a quiet ritual of care. After several weeks, Harold returned and said something I'll never forget. "I feel more present," he told me, "not just physically, but emotionally, like I'm actually experiencing closeness again." That's what improved nerve response does. It restores intimacy at a deeper level. It makes you feel alive in your own skin and connected in ways that go beyond the physical. But even when sensation returns, there's one more layer that often fades without warning. It's not about nerves or blood flow. It's something more subtle, more internal, your desire. And if you've been wondering where that fire went, you're not alone. Let's talk about how to get it back. 4. They reignite libido and emotional desire. Several months ago, I met with a man named Victor, 69 years old, happily married, relatively healthy. He wasn't dealing with pain or dysfunction. In fact, everything was still working. But he leaned in, lowered his voice, and said, "Dr. Laura, I don't know how to explain this. I love my wife. I still find her beautiful. But the want, that fire, it's just not there anymore." And the way he said it, you could tell it wasn't about performance. It was about something much deeper. something he was afraid he might have lost. For good. That quiet loss of desire is something I hear more and more from men in their 60s and beyond. You're not broken. You're not unloving. But somewhere along the way, the emotional and physical spark dims. And when libido fades, it can affect more than your sex life. It can chip away at your confidence, your energy, your connection not just with your partner, but with yourself. Here's where ginger and garlic do something unexpected. They don't just help with blood flow or testosterone. They also work on the emotional and neurological side of intimacy. Ginger supports serotonin balance, which influences both mood and desire. Garlic has been shown in studies to increase dopamine, the reward chemical in your brain tied to motivation and arousal. In traditional medicine, these two ingredients have long been considered natural aphrodisiacs, not just to help you perform, but to make you want to. For Victor, we didn't change much. He started sipping ginger and garlic tea before bed, and I encouraged him to use that time as a ritual: no TV, no screens, just a quiet moment with his wife. A few weeks later, he came in with a gentle smile and said, "Dr. Laura, I didn't just feel like being close. I wanted to, and it felt real again." That shift from obligation to desire is powerful. It means the body and heart are back in sync. But even when that fire is lit again, there's one more piece that determines whether your body can keep up with what your heart wants. It's the very system that supplies energy to your most sensitive areas. And if that system is off, nothing works the way it should. That's what we'll explore next. 3. They help regulate blood pressure and protect the heart. A few years back, I had a patient named Robert, 70 years old, newly remarried after being widowed for several years. He came into my office with a quiet but unmistakable glow, like someone who had found joy again. But underneath that excitement was a real concern. "Dr. Laura," he said, "when the moment comes, my heart starts racing and nothing happens." He wasn't just talking about nerves. He was describing a deeper issue. We checked his vitals, and sure enough, his blood pressure was climbing, and that's when everything clicked. What most men don't realize is that the health of your heart and blood vessels has everything to do with your ability to have and maintain an erection. The penis is an incredibly sensitive, pressure-dependent organ. It needs healthy arteries, stable blood flow, a responsive vascular system. If your blood pressure is too high or if your vessels are stiff and inflamed, it becomes incredibly difficult for your body to respond no matter how strong your desire is. That's where ginger and garlic come in. Both have been studied extensively for their heart protective benefits. Garlic, especially in raw or lightly cooked form, has been shown to help lower both systolic and diastolic blood pressure by relaxing blood vessels and reducing arterial stiffness. Ginger works to improve circulation, thin the blood slightly, and reduce cholesterol, all of which ease the workload on your heart and make it easier for blood to flow freely where it's needed most. For Robert, we focused on two things: a daily cup of warm ginger and garlic tea and reducing processed sodium-heavy foods. Within a few weeks, his blood pressure readings began to improve. But more than that, he said something that stuck with me. "Dr. Laura, I feel calmer, like my body's not working against me anymore." That's what good circulation does. It doesn't just support your heart, it gives your entire body permission to function with ease. And yet, there's a hidden factor that most men completely overlook, one that directly sabotages circulation, hormones, and energy all at once. It's not something you eat, and it's not a supplement. In fact, it's something most men are missing without even knowing it. And when you fix it, everything else starts to work better. Let's talk about that next. 2. They help you sleep, and that changes everything. They help you sleep, and that changes everything. A man named Samuel came to see me not long ago. He was 74, a retired high school coach with a quiet strength about him. He didn't come in because of erectile issues or testosterone concerns, at least not at first. What brought him in was something more subtle. Dr. Laura, he said, I wake up more tired than when I go to bed. I've got no fuel in the tank, and when I'm tired like this, everything else falls apart. That conversation hit me because it's something I hear far too often from men over 60. They think the problem is energy, but in reality, it's sleep, or the lack of real restorative sleep. What many men don't know is that during deep sleep, your body repairs your blood vessels, balances your hormones, and recharges your nervous system. It's not just rest, it's restoration. If sleep is broken or shallow, your testosterone drops, cortisol goes up, your nitric oxide suffers, and suddenly you're dealing with low drive, soft erections, mood swings, and brain fog, all without realizing that poor sleep was the root cause. That's where ginger and garlic come in. These two ingredients don't knock you out like a sleeping pill, but they gently support your body's natural ability to relax and reset. Ginger has calming anti-inflammatory effects that reduce nighttime cortisol spikes. Garlic helps regulate melatonin and supports parasympathetic nervous system activity, which allows your heart rate and breathing to slow down naturally. When taken together, especially as a warm tea in the evening, they can help signal to your body that it's time to rest. Samuel started drinking a cup of ginger and garlic tea about 45 minutes before bed. Nothing complicated, just a small evening ritual. After a few weeks, he came back and said, Dr. Laura, I didn't know how bad my sleep was until I finally got a good night's rest. Everything feels easier now. And that's the power of deep sleep. It quietly improves everything else. Your energy, your mood, your intimacy, even your outlook on life. But even when sleep improves, blood flows better, and desire returns, there's still one final piece that ties everything together. It's the one benefit that goes beyond the physical and reaches into something deeper, your identity. And when that part begins to heal, everything else starts to feel right again. Let me show you what I mean. They help you feel like a man again, strong, present, and connected. 1. They help you feel like a man again, strong, present, and connected. Charles was 73 when he first came to see me. He wasn't in crisis. He wasn't looking for a magic pill. What he said was something I'll never forget. Dr. Laura, he said, I'm not depressed, but I don't feel like me anymore. It wasn't about erections or energy or even desire, not directly. It was about identity, the quiet loss of presence, of confidence, of that grounded sense of being a man. And I see that in so many men over 60. You're still strong, still wise, but something starts to fade, not all at once, just slowly, subtly. And one day you realize you miss feeling alive in your own skin. That's where ginger and garlic become something more than just food. They're not just tools for better blood flow or testosterone. When used consistently, they become part of a deeper process of restoration. Ginger helps your circulation, your energy, your clarity. Garlic works on inflammation, hormone balance, even emotional calm. Together, they support every system that contributes to feeling vibrant, grounded, and alive. I had Charles start with a morning tea, ginger and garlic steeped for 20 minutes. Just a quiet moment before the day began. He also added them to meals, simple daily choices. A few months later, he returned to my office and shook my hand with purpose. His posture was different. His tone had changed, and he said, Dr. Laura, I feel like myself again, not because of something dramatic, but because something inside me woke up. That's the power of consistency. That's the power of giving your body the right tools and trusting it to remember what it's capable of. You see, it's not just about stronger erections or higher testosterone. It's about reclaiming the part of yourself that still wants to show up with strength, with purpose, with passion. The part that hasn't disappeared, it's just been waiting for support. And the truth is, nature gives us more support than we realize. Ginger and garlic may be humble, but their impact can be profound if you let them work. Now, you might be wondering, how exactly should you use ginger and garlic? How much? How often? And in what form to get the best results without wasting time or doing it wrong? That's what we'll walk through next, step by step. Because knowledge is one thing, but applying it the right way, that's where real change begins. Conclusion. After more than 3 decades working with men over 60, I've come to believe one simple truth. Most men aren't looking for a miracle. They're looking for a way to feel like themselves again, to feel steady, confident, and connected in their own body. And that's exactly what ginger and garlic offer. These aren't exotic ingredients. They're not part of some expensive supplement plan. They're right there in your kitchen. But when used with purpose and consistency, they have the power to restore what time and stress have quietly taken away. We've talked about how they open up blood vessels and improve circulation to the areas that matter most. How they naturally boost nitric oxide, helping the body send the signal to respond again. We saw how they support testosterone production, lower cortisol, and protect the cells that keep your hormones in balance. We explored how they calm the prostate, reduce inflammation in sensitive areas, and restore comfort in ways most medications overlook. And we talked about their ability to wake up nerve endings, reignite desire, regulate blood pressure, and even help you finally sleep through the night. But above all, what I hope you take from this is that ginger and garlic can help you feel like a man again, not a version of who you used to be, but a stronger, wiser version of who you still are. I've seen it happen in Charles, in Samuel, in Victor, in countless men who decided to stop waiting and start doing something small but powerful every single day. If that's you, if something in this video resonated, then don't overthink it. Start simple. A warm cup of tea with sliced ginger and a crushed garlic clove in the morning or before bed. Add them to your meals. Let these ingredients work their way into your daily rhythm, not as a treatment, but as a reminder to your body. I still care. I still want to feel alive. And if you do, I believe your body will respond, maybe not overnight, but over time, steadily, quietly, the way nature always works, by restoring, not forcing. That's how change begins. One choice at a time, one day at a time, and it's never too late to begin. If this video spoke to you, if even just one part of it helped you see things differently, feel more hopeful, or inspired you to take action, then I'd be truly grateful if you could support this message. Start by clicking the like button. It might seem like a small gesture, but it tells YouTube that this content matters. It helps more men just like you find their way back to health, confidence, and connection. If you found something here that could help a friend, a brother, or someone quietly struggling, take a moment to share it. You never know who's sitting in silence, waiting for the right words at the right time. I also want to hear from you. Leave a comment below and tell me what part of this video stood out to you the most. Have you tried ginger and garlic before? Did anything change? Or are you just getting started? Your stories don't just help me, they help other men feel less alone. They build a community where truth, healing, and strength are shared openly and without shame. And if you'd like to go one step further in supporting this work, consider donating to the channel using the link in the description. Every dollar goes toward creating more high-quality, science-backed, empowering content for men over 60 who are ready to take their health into their own hands naturally.